What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the DT show. I'm Daniel. I hope you guys have had a good and safe weekend. It's been a good one for me on this side. You know, we've I went and picked up a car. For those that don't know, I have a 94 Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4 and needed some work done, so I had it in Dallas. So I was out in Dallas this weekend. Got back yesterday after picking it up. Picked up a little bit of power. I must say, I love that car. But I got some more work to do on it. It's not completely done, and maybe I'll do some content on it. You let me know in the comment section if that's something you guys would be interested in, some content on the car. But today, what we're going to actually be talking about is we're going back into the Celeste Rivas case involving possibly David Burke, I believe is what his last name was as well. Excuse me, but it goes by David with a 4, D4VD. He has not been charged or arrested or anything like that. And we must preference the beginning of the show by saying that, you know, he's considered innocent. All persons are considered innocent until proven guilty. And at this time, there have been no charges. And I don't even think this is quite yet changed to a homicide investigation quite yet. And so that was one of the things that we had found out the last time we were on when we were covering this case. And so today what we're going to be talking about are a couple of things that have popped up in David's life and in Celeste's life that kind of, you know, maybe make some more connections there. David's hired a lawyer. We're going to go into who she is and, you know, how we may already be seeing her at work, so to speak, you know, with the online and what TMZ is reporting and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's get into it. Let's break it down. You know, one of the first things that I wanted to show you guys. All right. So this is David's lawyer, his new lawyer. I think this is important. This is Blair Burke. Burke is a prominent Hollywood defense attorney known for taking on high profile clients, especially men accused of misconduct ranging from sexual assault to domestic violence. Burke's list of clients include, as pictured here, Harvey Weinstein, Ed Westwick, Johnny Depp, Marilyn Manson, Sylvester Stallone, Mel Gibson, and just to name a few. Burke's reputation as a high-profile attorney is part of her role as a Hollywood fixer. These are when the celebrities get in trouble, this is who they go to. Now, there's been some reports that Burke is linked to TMZ. And I got an article that we're going to be looking at here in a second, but they describe Burke as Harvey Levine's. He's the guy that runs TMZ, or the former founder, good friend and vacation buddy. The connection is noteworthy because of TMZ's recent coverage of the case, particularly stories highlighting Celeste's alleged use of fake IDs, framing questions about whether she misled David about or was a promiscuous teenager. And in fact, they also just recently dropped a video showing Celeste arguing with neighbors. And then they also dropped an interesting, even more interesting interview that we're going to listen to with an ex-boyfriend of Celeste. So, you know, TMZ has been kind of already pushing this somewhat of a narrative out there. And, you know, Blair Burke, her clients have been on TMZ most often, well, frequently, because obviously their high profile status. She's a Hollywood lawyer. And so, you know, her clients are probably going to be coming out on the TMZ. I mean, it's going to be one-in-one comparison, right? But if there is this connection, and let me bring this up real quick, because I want to bring this up for everybody. Let me pull this up. This is a while ago. This is from something called The Cut. This is, what is TMZ doing to Rose McGowan? Now, this is something that was a little while ago, but I think it's interesting because this is where it points out the connection between Harvey Levine and Miss Burke. And then again, all this recent coverage by TMZ, getting exclusive neighbors, audio, interviews, etc. Already kind of pushing a narrative out there, maybe trying to send some information out there to build a case for David. Let me know in the comment section if you guys are seeing what I'm seeing here. All right, so it goes on here. So this says Rose McGowan sent a short series of tweets accusing TMZ founder Harvey Levine of harassing her. She wrote that Levine is hanging over, something over her head, apparently in retaliation of her outspokenness about Harvey Weinstein. And she went so far as to claim that Levine is on Weinstein's payroll. And this is the tweet that she made. Help, I'm being harassed by Harvey Levine, TMZ. He's hanging something over my head. Basically what we just wrote. It says, WTF, have you done with your scumbag life? Yeah. And then so she goes on to say that McGowan's claims about Levine are extreme. The anonymous Twitter account Pop Culture died in 2009, explaining Wednesday night that Levine's friendly with Weinstein's lawyer, Blair Burke. So it goes on to say they specifically noted TMZ's unfriendly and I read that wrong. Misogynistic coverage of Keisha after she accused music producer Dr. Luke of sexually assaulting her. Dr. Luke was a Sturrock client. So let's see. Where does it say about? Here it is. Pop Culture died in 2009. Says it's easy to write off Rose's tweet as an exaggeration, but Harvey Levine is on Harvey Weinstein's side. Why? Blair Burke, Levine's good friend and vacation buddy, from what I've heard. Strick and Company, Mike Strick. And so there's where some of that connection comes into. TMZ regularly sides with the often very popular accused, painting accusers as unstable and untrustworthy. Now, this was something that was said a while ago. And so when we go back and we start thinking about some of the things that have recently come out of late, as I mentioned, they talked about her perhaps lying about her age. They talk about how maybe David didn't know how old she was, or maybe how she was promiscuous. They bring on an ex-boyfriend. And then they also show out a video of Celeste arguing with neighbors, trying to, paint her in a picture of somebody who's uncontrollable, somebody who started things, and it's not in a good light, already kind of painting the victim in a certain way. You guys tell me if I'm reading this wrong, but you let me know. TMZ is drama based, but they're right more than they're wrong. No, I get that they're right more than they're wrong, but in this scenario here, and they're just putting out the facts, right? I mean, Celeste did argue with her neighbors. It's not like they're doing anything or they're fabricating anything either. But it's just interesting the light that they're trying to paint her as. I've seen where news outlets will take somebody who maybe have committed a violent crime, and for whatever reason, they instead of showing the pictures of them holding the guns and everything else, they show their superstar picture from when they were in middle school, or some sort of birthday picture when they were 12, not the 16-year-old picture where the guy has a bunch of guns, or 21-year-old picture where he's, a bunch of drugs and a bunch of other things around, and guns and et cetera. Right. So I'm just taking note of the perception that they already given the victim in this case. All right. So with that being said, let's pull up some stuff real quick. And this is from Ashley Banfield, and she had a excellent show highlighting a few things that I wanted to bring up. And this is the first one.
Have a listen.
We're out here at what we know as Celeste's home that she lived with her family, and right over there is the beautiful memorial we have seen in her honor. But today we confirmed with a neighbor that they had seen a black Tesla coming in and out at all hours in the night. We can confirm it was when Celeste was still here, and that it was near her home. Her home is right here, and the area that the black Tesla was seen was over in this vicinity. There's a parking lot in this area back there, and then there's also street parking. So we were told in this vicinity is where the black Tesla was spotted. Now we cannot confirm that was actually David's black Tesla, and we can't confirm that Celeste was ever seen going into it, but we can confirm that the neighbor spotted it near her home at all hours of the night. And we're going to keep talking to neighbors and see if we can find out more information to get closer to see what happened to Celeste.
So interesting stuff there. Neighbors are now reporting that they've seen what looked like David's vehicle in the vicinity during all hours of the night throughout the year. Interesting take. I mean, this don't. It's not saying that he did something, but it also doesn't. It's not a good thing for him if they can prove that he was going over there and for how long. And, you know, if some of these witnesses can say, hey, you know, we started noticing this vehicle starting around this time frame. And, you know, if they can correlate those things to the times where she was reported missing, you have something circumstantial. You know what I'm saying? You don't, and it would be very difficult even to, I don't even know if it's something that they could prove in court or even, bring into court, because it's not like they can say that it was exactly his. You know, I wonder if they could bring in a witness, a neighbor saying, yeah, we saw a black vehicle that was very similar to his vehicle in the area. I just feel that a really good attorney is going to be able to tear that up. Like, you know, what type of Tesla? Was it a Model Y? Was it a Model X? Blah, 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 blah. I mean, there's so much that you can probably create there, some doubt that it was him. But that's interesting. All right, and so the next spot here comes in at 13:30.
So we talked to a student that went to school with Celeste, and she did confirm that Celeste showed a few classmates photos of her and David. She said that she was in a relationship with the singer David, and she wasn't shy about telling the few people in this classroom that she had a relationship with David, and even showed photos of him. Now, this is the little bit of information that we've actually been able to get, and we have talked to over 100 students. We have asked them if they knew Celeste, if they've seen Celeste. A lot of the students have confirmed they went to middle school with Celeste. They knew of Celeste. They heard she went missing. A lot of people said, I remember her beautiful curls. But out of all of those people, nobody, besides the one thing I just said, nobody really knew Celeste. They just didn't know her personally. Even the parents, a couple of the parents would see her, but nobody knew her family. Nobody knew her personally that we've talked to that were at the school.
David.
So she was telling people. Now you can add this. You got the neighbors saying we saw a black Tesla. Can't tell you anything more than that. But we got the friends from the school saying that she was telling people that they were in a relationship. So now that circumstantial evidence starts to build. You know, just the fact that he had a black Tesla doesn't say much, right? Now, she was found in a black Tesla. She's telling people they were together. Now, you know, this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning. There's so much more there that they're going to find, you know, that's going to connect the two together as far as communication and stuff like that. The one thing that I don't know if they've ever found, and I've not seen this anywhere, is did they ever find her phone? Was her phone located with her body? I don't think it was. I don't think it was. And yes, she definitely is still a victim. 100%, Rachel M. And so this is what, you know, in my opinion, a case that's going to be built against David, whether they're going to go after him for the murder, or if they go after him from some sort of statutory or an improper relationship or harboring a runaway, something of that nature. I think they're going to go after him. You know, they're going to come after him. Now, the lawyer that he got, I find this interesting because the lawyer, Ms. Burke, she's not an attorney that is typically used with murder cases. So I wonder if they know something already that maybe perhaps they're not going to be charged with murder. And maybe perhaps the reason why he's hiring an attorney that has dealt with, you know, sexual related crimes, whether it's abuse, assault, or harassment, or whatever the case may be, is because of the underage aspect of what's going on. Is that a big clue? I wonder if this is a clue to what's actually going on behind the scenes to a certain extent. Right now, it doesn't necessarily mean that Miss Burke can't be a lawyer for a murder trial. I just don't think she ever has. And so I'm wondering what they're going to do. You know what I mean? Now, let's go back real quick. I wanted to show you guys this here. And this is again from News Nation. And what they did was they walked up the area and they pointed out some interesting stuff that I wanted to point out as well.
Does have security cameras, and I think that there's a lot more cameras than.
So this is the area right in front of David's house. And this area is lit with security cameras. And one thing he's going to point out is that right in front of here is where David usually parked his Tesla. So let's pull up the maps real quick. So this is where David's home is. Right here. This white building with this. Once we zoom in, it goes away. And this is where the Tesla was found. Right there. Interesting thing, though. Put yourself here. And what do you see but David's Tesla? This was taken May 2024. You see this? That is where a license plate was, like a temporary plate was taped on. So I would assume that this vehicle had just been purchased. They put on the new plates recently and took off the paper one. I assume that's what that is. That's from the sticker from holding the license plate. But it's parked out here because he says that apparently there's like a gym inside. Now, the vehicle wasn't found far away from here. Like I said, you go up the street, you turn left, turn right, and it's parked right here. Kind of where this truck was. Pretty much right where that truck is. And look, there's a... they made sure not to park it in the fire hydrant area. Interesting. And I believe let's see. This here, the so-called Tesla key card that was found in the gutter. I believe that was found right along where the vehicle was at. So it wasn't found where the vehicle was found. It was found by David's house. So it only leaves a couple of ways that it could have gotten there. Obviously, they would have needed it to have dropped off the vehicle a block and a half away. So I wonder if they discarded it somewhere. If the person, well, here's the thing. It seems like if this is real, if this card is real, it would have meant that the person parked and left Celeste and the vehicle where the vehicle was found, and then walked to David's house. This is a big clue, guys. This is a huge clue because they went back to his house. Take heed. There's a fence here, palm trees. When the guy goes walking around, I want to see if that's in this area.
And just the two you see here, and also the houses around us. I mean, we're looking at a camera right here on my left. So there's probably a lot that was captured.
It's right there.
It's a wealthy area.
See, there's the fence, there's the roof, there's a fence line. So it was found back here. This guy came pretty far back around to get in.
These people value their privacy, and it's a it's a beautiful home. It's all.
This should be so easy to figure out. This should be extremely easy to figure out. I mean, either unless they had somebody help them, and they picked them up at the car, and they drove back together. If there was 2 vehicles out there, but if that wasn't the case, if it was a one person, deal, and the one person went out there and parked the car 2 blocks away, and then came back, there's a lot of cameras here that they should have gotten captured on. I'm dumbfounded why they haven't made an arrest, to be honest with you.
These rumors about it being a real party house and everything, but the people I've talked to around here said it was very they were very courteous, and it was quiet, and it was not this party house that it was rumored to be. So I'm sure that we'll learn more about that. But as you can see, all the way up and down the street are homes with lots of security cameras. So anything coming and going from this house was captured not only by the house's own security system, but by the.
Doesn't Tesla self-drive? I think it does, but I'm not sure. I think this was a 2023 Tesla Model X drive on its own without a driver in the driver's seat. Let's see what the internet says. That's a good question. No, a 2023 Tesla Model X cannot drive on its own without a driver in the seat. The autopilot and full self-driving supervised systems is required to have a driver supervision and will disengage if they detect that no driver or unbuckled seatbelts. So there you go. You have to be, not only do you have to be in there, sitting in there, but you also have to have your seatbelt buckled in. But the 2023 does not self-drive like that, where you can just click a button and say, all right, go home. And it go home on its own. So somebody was sitting in that car to have put it there.
The neighbors, and I'm sure LAPD has either subpoenaed or voluntarily collected all that footage already. And the question becomes, had too much time passed to where they still have it and didn't overwrite. But as you can see, like this house here has a 360 camera right on that pillar, so that would capture anybody coming and going from this area. And this is where the Tesla was parked. We even see it on Google Street View, parked right here. So likely that would capture it. And also, these are high-end security systems. They capture sound as well, a lot of them, not just video. So
see that this is what bothers me as far as why haven't they arrested somebody. It has to be because they can't figure out the cause of death. It has to be that. And I think that they're concerned that they could charge him with something, and if she overdosed and somebody panicked, for instance, that's not murder. You know what I mean? If she OD'd, they panicked, put her in the car, parked the car somewhere down the street, and came back and left it there and just went on with their life. That's not reporting, and something to do with a corpse. I can't remember the exact title, but that's not murder. So is that what they're trying to figure out? I would assume that they would have known her toxicology report by now. They were able to figure out that she wasn't pregnant in the last year. So I would have assumed that they could figure out those hormones or the lack thereof, and they could figure out how much, if any, drugs were in her system. And if there was a lethal amount, you know what I mean? But yeah, I just don't understand with so many cameras. I mean, it's a Tesla too, and it's a Model X, which is one of the more sophisticated and more high-tech Teslas that they have. It's one of the more expensive ones. You would expect something with so much technology and information and recording information and cameras that record and things of that nature, that computer and everything else that goes along with it should have captured a lot of stuff. And if it's missing, I mean, that's a big clue on its own. If David somehow had, which I don't know if you could, I mean, I'm not the computer tech guy like this, but if he could have things wiped from the computer whether it's on his app or whatever, like erase all data or something of that nature. Well, that's a big hint. It's kind of like in the Brian Koberger case where, they couldn't figure out if he was stalking anybody because there was huge gaps of missing information, which was evidence of him deleting and destroying evidence. So if there's, if come late August, early September, David goes out there and he completely factory resets everything and deletes everything off of his Tesla. That's a pretty big clue that he was aware of it. Now, if I was his defense attorney, I would have preferred that to have been the case, that he deleted it all. That would have been it would have been more of a slam dunk for law enforcement if he didn't. But by deleting it all is evidence of something on its own. It's just not as strong. You get what I'm saying?
Could also be audio that could capture what was going on, in the house or right outside the house. The Tesla was normally parked right here. The exit from the house is these gates right there.
What if there isn't anything in her system? There's not anything in her system, then, I mean, I guess you got to go through her medical history to see if she had anything, allergic reactions to anything, if she had seizures, if she had anything that could have, resulted in an early death, right? If there's nothing there, then it's most likely unnatural. And if it's unnatural, it's by the means of somebody else. Now, no, because I was thinking too, like, I mean, could it have been something like if she took her own life and he panicked because of her age but it doesn't make sense for him to hide her in his car then and just leave his car there. That makes zero sense. So no, that's not it either. You would have been better off just calling wherever she was. I mean, they're finding in your car. The relationship's going to get found out anyways. So if there's nothing in her system, I think the next move is to check her medical history to see if there's anything there that could, that could explain a possible freak accident and somebody panicking. That's the only other explanation. But I strongly suspect that this was nefariously done. I mean, put in the trunk in a bag. I don't know.
Trash cans are. And then if we just walk up here a little bit and to the left is where, it was left for, what I've heard is more than a month, with her body in it, which is tragic to think about. But it was parked very close by. Again, these are all very high-end homes and with a lot of security. There's more cameras right there. So I think that they'll be able to piece together the movement of the vehicle, and along with the vehicle's own systems, whether even if he,
I've wondered about this, right? Where playing devil's advocate. This is playing devil's advocate. If I was David's attorney, I would be, saying, hey, what? I understand the panic move, and I understand the the thought of him panicking and leaving the car there and him putting her in the car. But he just said that the car was there for a month. Why didn't he ever move it, hide her appropriately, so to speak, so that nobody else would find her? And then I'm reminded about this key card that's lost and found in the gutter. Now, David wouldn't need that. I think he can use his phone or other devices to get into the Tesla. I believe you can use your phone to get into it and move it. But if somebody else did this, they would need the key card. I don't know. We're just gonna have to keep on looking at the evidence till we figure this out. You know what I'm saying?
Didn't have Sentry mode enabled. The car.
'Cause I don't want to
would
jump to any
still,
conclusions just yet.
capture that GPS data of when it was started and stopped, and where it moved in the last time it was turned off, and it'll also show how many passengers were in it because the seats measure the weight for airbag reasons. So I think there'll be a lot of
That is fair.
data garnered. So then where the car will be right down here, and here we have a house that's got all kinds of security.
Good old Lamborghini.
So this corner is where the car was parked and impounded from. So I imagine it's one of these neighbors that ultimately made the call to Department of Transportation to have it towed. And this is the spot right here. It was just past the red curb, parked on the right here. This is exactly it right here. This is where
Someone found a Tesla near. Did they confirm it was? I'm going to look it up again real quick because I don't know. I know I saw it in a news article as well. So what I'm asking. Nancy Grace reported it as found. So I don't know. Yeah, Nancy Grace reported it as the Tesla key card found. It's a good question. It's a good question, but it still kind of doesn't negate the question of if David did this. Now, was David on tour? Yeah, he was on tour, but his tour dates were kind of weird. He would go like 2 back-to-back shows and then take like a week off. Then he would do 2 shows in relative time frame and then take a week off. And so during the month of August and September, he had plenty of days off. In fact, I think he had in early September, he had a concert in California. And so he was there at that time. He would have been there at that time ish, around that time frame. And he could have been there. I don't know his schedule, obviously. I know that there was some time where I think he went one place. I think it was like Dallas and then Minnesota, but there was like 2 weeks in between there that he could have gone home. Don't know if he went home. Don't know if he went to Texas where his family is. Don't know if he went to Los Angeles. No idea. But there's definitely gaps in his tour dates that would have allowed him to go home for an extended period of time. Not just a day or so, for quite a bit of time. Good question. So now here is a boyfriend of Celeste that was recently interviewed as well. Let's see. Hold on. Wait. Before we get into this, I wanted to make sure I wasn't forgetting any. Oh, you know what? So before we get into the boyfriend, the ex-boyfriend, so I guess old boy was throwing some things out, and TMZ got some images of this I wanted to show you guys. So he's moved out completely, and these are some of the movers. This is where on the Google Earth that we were just looking at, this is where the vehicle was parked at. This is supposedly a gym area. No idea what that is. Sort of container. Some trash. Can't really see inside there. That looks pink. Looks like clothing. I mean, he did wear pink clothes too, so it may not be his. Just some items that you can kind of see inside a little bit. Ladder. There's a bicycle. Some sort of, I assume, like weightlifting thing. Some containers. Looks like some pink items in there. Could be females. And even if they are, it doesn't necessarily mean they're Celeste, but I wouldn't be surprised. Red roses on the ground. And this is the last one, which is basically the same image.
Boyfriend, according to what she told him. Here is some of that interview.
And this is the
I
ex-boyfriend.
guess she liked me, or she was looking for someone, and yeah, we started talking. She was really kind, and she said she wanted something serious.
Now, they're 13, and she wants something serious. That's a little bit of a red flag there, I guess. You know, not necessarily anything nefarious, just kind of something that she's looking for, I guess. Comfort and love that maybe she's not getting at home.
And how old were you when you met her?
13 or 14.
So at what point did you feel or did you hear from Celeste that there were problems at home?
She said how her mom didn't treat her well or whatever, and she didn't like where she was at.
Did she talk at all about her relationship with her parents?
Kind of. She just said they were mean or whatever. She didn't like them.
And then you guys broke up, and the next thing you know, you find out that she's involved with this internet sensation, David.
That's true too.
Yeah, I didn't think it was gonna happen, like, at all, because like she was always like so happy and stuff.
What is your last memory?
Let me rewind that a little bit. She was always so happy and stuff.
Kind, and she said she wanted something serious.
And how old were you when you met her?
13 or 14.
Now, again, this is from TMZ. TMZ might, like, if you didn't watch the early part, we talked a little bit about David's attorney, Blair Burke, who has what appears to be some sort of connection there with Harvey Levine, the founder of TMZ. And the interesting thing about it is, it already seems like there's a smear campaign against Celeste, you know, building up reasons for other things that David's not maybe perhaps responsible for. You know, that you have the video from the camera next door. I think they even argued about whether or not she was of age, or she told David how old she was, if David was aware. They brought up the promiscuous stuff. Now they got the boyfriend here trying to say that she had problems at home. You know, maybe again, kind of diverting the attention away from David somewhere else. Now, not saying that's the case, just an observation. You guys let me know what you guys think about that, because apparently, and we looked, I highly recommend watching the beginning part. But we referenced how apparently, according to a Twitter account, which I don't know how true it is, but apparently Harvey and Levine and Blair Burke were traveling buddies at one point or something like that. Really good friends. So take that with mind. Just keep that in mind.
So at what point did you feel or did you hear from Celeste that there were problems at home?
She said how her mom didn't.
And I'm not, and by saying that and prefacing that does not mean that she didn't have any problems at home. She very well could have.
Or 14.
So at what point did you feel or did you hear from Celeste that there were problems at home?
She said how her mom didn't treat her well or whatever, and she didn't like where she was at.
Did she talk at all about her relationship?
So her mom didn't treat her well, and she didn't like where she was at. I wonder what she means by that, or what he means by that, you know? Because I'll be honest with you guys, like I've dealt with, when I was in law enforcement, I have dealt with some kids who were troubled, had some issues legally, causing a little bit of problems and things of that nature. Wasn't always, because the parents were so bad. It was sometimes because they didn't fear the parents. Parents were old or something like that. And they just kind of ran wild, and I'm not saying this is the case here. No idea. I don't know anything about Celeste's family or anything like that. But it doesn't seem like they ever got physical with her or anything like that. I wonder if it was just we want you not to be going out late at night. Don't be going out partying and drinking. Because, you look at what she did. She ran away. She ran to this guy that was maybe not parties everywhere and all the time, but she was seen, at David's performances and things of that nature. I can't fathom to think that a parent would agree to those type of things, right? And so was it necessarily that she was treated bad and stuff like that, or was it more she wasn't given her way all the time? I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. It could be one or the other or somewhere in between. You know what I'm saying?
Relationship with her parents?
Kind of. She just said they were mean or whatever. She didn't like them.
And then
they were mean. She didn't like them.
Broke up, and the next thing you know, you find out that she's involved with this internet sensation, David.
Yeah, I didn't think it was gonna happen, like at all, because like she was always like so happy and stuff.
What is your last memory that you have of?
I didn't think it was gonna happen. I wonder what he meant by that. Like, you didn't think her relationship with him was gonna happen? You didn't think she was gonna run away? What do you mean by that?
Yeah, I didn't think it was gonna happen, like at all, because like she was always like so happy and stuff.
What is your last memory that you have of Celeste?
We were at PE, and she told me and my friend that she was running away, and she said it was because of her parents, and she was like joking about it, and she was like happy, like joking like she always was, and like it didn't seem real because like she was like playing around, joking about it, and the next day she wasn't at school, and like that's the last time I saw her.
What was your reaction when you saw the breaking news that they had found your ex-girlfriend's body in the trunk of his car?
My heart dropped. I was like, I don't know. I just couldn't believe it. I kind of had a feeling when I saw, like, the first thing. I was like, what if it is her?
I'm assuming he knew that Celeste was in a relationship with David. Right. She did tell people at school. That was one of the first things that we learned about earlier on in the program, that she was telling people at school. Because, I mean, if why would that be like the first thing that you think of? Oh, this is Celeste, that was found in this trunk. So I'm assuming before anybody jumps to conclusions and try to say this poor kid knows something more than he does, my assumption is that he was aware of Celeste and David's relationship, which kind of means there's probably a lot of people that were aware of it. So this shouldn't be something that wouldn't be too hard to file some charges against him for some inappropriate relationship with a child.
Like, the first thing, I was like, what if it is her? But I just like brushed it off. But when I saw it really was her, I was like, damn, I really knew.
So let me just make sure I'm understanding this correctly. You had seen the news out of Los Angeles that a body was found in his car.
Yeah.
And you immediately had a sinister thought about Celeste?
Yeah, because one of my friends told me.
Were you at home with your mom?
One of your friends told you what? That Celeste was dating him? I'm assuming that's what it was. That's my assumption, is that that's what was referred there.
This is one of my friends told me.
Were you at home with your mom when they identified Celeste and you saw it all over the news? Can you remember that moment for us?
Yeah, I was on the way to school, and then like she just like showed me, and like I took a picture of it and I sent it to one of my friends, and he's like, "Yeah, I saw it too. It's crazy," and I just couldn't believe it.
So yeah, it sounds like everybody was aware of Celeste's relationship with David, and it shouldn't be that hard to file a case against them for at least that. Whether the parents knew about it, whether the mom and dad were okay with it, whether they were getting paid off. Because I know I've heard those rumors too, right? That the parents knew about the relationship. She had been going back and forth. They may have been getting paid off, etc. I have no idea if any of that's true. None whatsoever. But let's just say that it is all true. Still doesn't defend this guy. You know, he still would be charged with, you know, you can't get permission from a parent to do something with a child they can't consent to. A parent can't consent for a child like that. So it should be easy to, in my opinion, given the information that we already know, it shouldn't be that difficult to file some sort of charges against him. Are they going to go for the murder charge? I don't know. I find it interesting that he chose Blair Burke as his attorney, who hasn't, you know, I'm gonna make sure that I got this information right, but I'm gonna look it up. Has Blair Burke been hired for a murder case? Okay, it says for this one, before David. Yeah, good old Google. Because I don't think she has. Like, everything that I have heard has been like sexual assault, harassment, those type of things. I haven't seen her you know, being hired for, you know, defending somebody for murder. So I wonder if there's already something happening behind the scenes. Guys, if you have a couple questions, please put in the comment section. Lori comes in with $27.99. Thank you so much. Shirley, I was late pushing GPS done. Well, thank you, Lori, for being here. I appreciate you. You're awesome. Thank you so much. Let's see. Let's see what this says here, this article. I wonder if it says anything about her being, you know, hired before. It says, singer David has hired renowned criminal defense attorney Blair Burke amid the intensifying probe into the death of 15-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Hiring Burke, known for representing celebrities in DUIs and other minor legal issues. You see, this is what I'm talking about. Comes on the heels of Los Angeles Police Department's statement that criminal liability in the case may not extend beyond the concealment. Wait a minute, what? That the criminal liability in this case may not extend beyond the concealment of a body. When did they say that? That's kind of, that's an interesting statement. I don't think I ever saw that, but that basically what that says is that the only thing that they have on him is that he may have hid the body and they can't prove he did something nefarious. I believe Burke is his last name as well. I think it's spelled differently though. I'm just gonna. I don't see anything here that says that. It says here, comes on the heels of Los Angeles Police Department's statement that criminal liability in the case may not extend beyond the concealment of a body. While Burke has limited experience with murder cases, she has handled them before. Her past clients, primarily in the entertainment industry, include Harvey Weinstein, Lindsay Lohan, Kanye West, etc. Most recently, she represented Monica Santinelli, who in June was sentenced to life in prison. Oh, so she has. There you go. I was wrong. So she, in 2017, she represented somebody for murder. The celebrity hairstylist Fabio Centinelli. People on social media voiced their opinions on Burke's hiring. He's already guilty just because he hired this person. I don't think so. One could not pay me enough to defend this dude. Evidence against him is as big as a Mount Everest. It's pretty high. Hiring a high-profile lawyer means you're guilty and just hoping for a lighter sentence. Not necessarily. I mean, there's a lot at risk here, right? Whether you're innocent or not, you want to make sure you put the best effort forward. So I don't think just necessarily hiring a high-powered attorney it means that you're guilty. It just means that you want to make sure that T's are crossed and your I's are dotted. I mean, you know, if you're going to put something in trust of somebody else, you want to make sure that they're a professional and they understand the business, right? I mean, you get what you pay for too. I mean, you could have a vehicle, and I'll change, you know, just kind of use a different analogy. You can have a vehicle and just take it to the quote unquote mechanic from the neighborhood down the street that's not licensed. You might pay a lot less than if you took it to the dealership, but yeah, they might do a great job. They might not. But what's more guaranteed to get you what you are hoping to get out of it? It's probably taking it to a paid mechanic that's, you know, trained and, you know, those type of things. So I don't necessarily believe that, you know, what would you have wanted him to do? Hire a public defender that's, you know, they ain't going to give him one anyways. He's not indigent. So, you know, is he going to hire the cheapest lawyer he can find just because they're inexpensive? So to me, I don't think that's not a valid point. But I want to know about this first sentence, because this is concerning to me. This I'm actually gonna highlight it and search it. Los Angeles Police Department statement, criminology, that the criminal liability in this case may not extend, because I don't remember seeing that anywhere. Yeah, the Independent is also reporting that. Yeah, see, his name's spelled, it's Burke also, but it's spelled differently. According to reports, believed to have been dead for several weeks. Her remains were found on September 7th. Okay. It still says that ABC is deferred while lab and toxicology tests are still pending. The case remains a death investigation, not a homicide. And she was not pregnant in the last year. Okay. Apparently, between February 2024 and April 2025, there was reports of deputies at her family's house 11 times for suspicious circumstances. Huh. I didn't see where it said, because it says right here, LAPD suggested potential criminal liability in this case may be limited to concealment of the body. But I didn't read that. Maybe I just missed it. Yeah, that was right here. Was reportedly brought on after LAPD suggested the potential criminal liability in this case may be limited to the concealment of the body. That's concerning, guys. I'm not gonna lie, that's concerning. Because that means that they don't feel like they have the evidence to prove that she was murdered. I really hope they don't let this get away like that. But what this also kind of tells me is limited to the concealment of the body. Is that what they're thinking? are they able to pinpoint that it was him and that might be the liability in this case? And remember, I told you guys, like, she wasn't really brought on for murder cases. I'm not sure if you're a high-powered attorney, you know, I mean a high-powered if you're a successful musician that's very wealthy. I'm not sure, you know, Brooke Burke is did I say Brooke Burke? What is her name again? Miss Burke is Blair Burke. There we go. I'm not so certain that Blair Burke is the one you're going to go for. I mean, who's the guy that represented Ray Lewis when he was on trial for like murder and stuff? Like, that's probably the guy that you go for. You know, somebody who's defended celebrity murderers. And so when I read that it was her, I was like, man, I wonder if this means that they're trying to fight other cases outside of the murder charge. You know what I mean? David is walking free. He could be. This is concerning to me. I'm not going to lie. Maybe he didn't do anything. Maybe one of his circle founder. Maybe. Diddy got little to nothing for all his crimes. That's true too. That's a very fair point. No statute of limitations on murder. They could get him for concealment and murder later when they can prove it. That's true too. That is true. You know, but I just don't know how much more can pop up later. You know, outside of maybe perhaps a confession. You know, if he confessed to somebody or something of that nature. I don't know exactly what can pop up later that would change the circumstances. My assumption is that if the toxicology report comes back negative, then I think that's what they're saying. You know, if the toxicology report comes back positive that she OD'd, then, you know, the culpability here could only be concealment of the body, which is an accurate statement. That is 100% true. So maybe that's why they're waiting for it. And if it comes back that it's not the case, then, you know, again, you got to go through your medical history, make sure there's nothing there that would make you think that that's what happened. You know, I don't think this was, I don't think this was a situation where she willingly got into the trunk, you know, into a bag or anything like that. You know, I don't think this was like a prank gone wrong or something like that. Because then that's not concealment of the body. It sounds like they have enough evidence to say that somebody hid the body and hid the car there, which is obvious, you know, because of where they found her and stuff. But it's a concerning thing. Just a little bit concerning. Well, I'll answer your questions. Put a couple of stars if you have your questions. We'll talk it out. If not, we'll be calling the show pretty soon. He wrote a song and he admitted he killed her. It shows a funeral for her, including a coffin. Oh, wow. I haven't seen that. I need to check that out. Let's see. It's in this car. I'm not understanding. Well, I assume that their thoughts are, and this is the interesting part too, because they're saying that the culpability is concealment of the body. Not necessarily that it's not him either. You know, they're not saying, oh, we think there could be somebody else involved. So it sounds like that statement could mean a lot of things, but it kind of points to David being the person that concealed the body. Because I would assume they would have came out and said something like he wasn't there when the vehicle was moved, you know, something like that. LAPD suggests that the potential criminal liability in this case may be limited to the concealment of the body. And that could also mean anybody. I mean, he could have been gone and one of David's friends was there and she overdosed on something, and they panicked, put her in the car and drove her down the street, came back, lost the key. That's possible, I guess. That's a good point here. I hope I don't butcher this name. Colo. It says reportedly brought on after LAPD suggested, emphasis on reportedly, lawyer reporting this BS to Levine, Fox News. That's a fair point. That's a fair point. You know, that's what we started off on, right? Could this be a situation where his attorney's trying to, you know, I don't know, massage this into looking better for her client, maybe? Off topic question. You've been looking for the Mark Sanchez thing. That was crazy. I heard some things on that one. I heard that, I don't know if they're true or not, but I heard he was intoxicated, not just on alcohol, but on a wintry freezing substance that usually falls from the sky, and that and then that he was kind of out of it. But yeah, he ended up, I saw the pictures of that old man. He ended up beaten down. The old man ended up stabbing him in the chest. From all accounts, I think everybody's in stable condition, but it's a scary situation. People can talk like that's true too. That is true. That's the one thing that I was thinking about. I was like, he confesses to somebody, he says something, somebody knows something. That's true too. He likely strangled her. Well, I mean, her body was badly decomposed. I don't know if, I think there's some telltale signs in the neck. I think it would have to depend on how badly she was decomposed. And they have to know way more, all those cameras and the data on the Tesla. I agree. That's one of the reasons why I'm like, why haven't they ever made an arrest? This should be so easy to freaking do. Like, there's so much evidence here. There's so much technology and cameras in the area and the Tesla itself. It shouldn't be a difficult thing to figure out. She was bigger than him. He wouldn't have been able to strangle her. She would have beaten him up. No, I don't think you should look at somebody's size and think that based on their size that would make a difference. There's a lot of things that could have come into play. You'd be surprised, some smaller people have taken the lives of bigger people before. The songs are there are songs that are old. I don't look at those songs as anything recent. Have you watched the video where she tells him that I've not seen that one. Please send it to me. My email is drunkturkeyshow@gmail.com, guys. If you got anything to send, please send it there. All right, Barbara goes, why, if you get pulled over, there's drugs in the car, you get charged because the car is registered to you. Why isn't he? It's his car. Well, with the drugs, the possession of those drugs alone is the crime. With the dead body in your car, you got to still prove that, like for instance, murder. There's a lot of things that you got to prove. The intent, premeditation, how. I mean, there's a few things that need to go into play, and to me, I think it's pretty simple, pretty easy, but you got to rule out a few things. You got to get the toxicology report and make sure that she didn't overdose on anything and it wasn't a panic move. Because those things happen too, right? Where you have young people, and especially like, for instance, David, who's in an improper relationship with a young person. That could alone make him act in a unnatural manner if something were to have happened by accident, right? If she were to have overdosed or, I don't know, slipped and fell and hit her head or something. I don't know. And I 100% agree. If that was the case and she had some skull fractures or something of that nature, that's going to be very suspicious and probably leaning more towards murder because he put her in the car, etc. But let's just say that, could something like that happen where she OD'd or she had an accident and he panicked because of her age? I'm sure that's going to be the defense, because at the end of the day, going down for concealment of a body and perhaps even sexually related crimes against a minor is probably a lot better than going away for life for murder. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's going to be a few hurdles in this case. What is this story with the car, stolen or sold? I think he said it was stolen at one part, which is another thing. He had put online it was stolen, but it was never reported stolen. So that's another really big red flag against David. You know what I'm saying? Why would he leave her in his own car? What about someone close to him? That's a good question. Why would he leave her in her own car? It sounds like a panic move, to be honest with you. And if it was him, let's play it all out. It most likely, well, I don't know where it could have happened. Could it have happened at his house? Maybe. Could it have happened somewhere else? And he just decided to park 2 blocks away and then run home? Yeah. Could it have happened in his house? He put her in the car at his house, drive it 2 blocks away, and then run back home? Yeah. There's a lot of possibilities there. But I agree. Why not go and try to conceal it better? Conceal her in a better way. Whether it's the next day or 2 days later. It sounds like she was in there for quite a while. He had plenty of opportunity to go get in the vehicle and drive away and take her to the ocean or whatever the case may be, right? He left her there. So I do think that's an interesting point, which is, I brought up the key card being in the gutter. Well, David, I don't think would have necessarily needed that if he had the app on his phone that would have allowed him to utilize his phone as a key. So if it was required by a key card, it most likely, it may not. I'm not going to say most likely. I'm going to say it may not have been him. I just wonder, like, you would assume he would have been able to look on his app and see where the vehicle was parked and seen that it was parked a block and a half down the street. If he did go back to California throughout any part of the time that he was, that vehicle was parked there, why didn't he move it? Even if he didn't know that Celeste was in there, why didn't he move the car closer to his home and allow it to get towed? Now that's if he went back. If he went on tour and during those spaces of time where he couldn't go back home, or the space of time where he could go back home and he didn't go back home, then, okay, that makes a little bit of sense. But if he had access to get back to his apartment there, I find it weird that he didn't move his car. I wonder why. I mean, I think I know the answer why, but she was in the car premeditated. I don't think that her being in the car equals to being premeditated. Because, I mean, somebody could have panicked. I mean, given her age and stuff, I think that's what the defense attorney is probably going to say if they go down that road. Like, if they agree that that's him that put her in the car and moved the car, I would not be surprised if their claim is that it was some sort of accident or, OD or something of that nature. I read that Celeste's body was dismembered. She couldn't have put herself in the truck. I think it wasn't. I don't think it was 100% accurate. It sounds like that was walked back, the dismembered part. It sounds like because she was wearing clothes and stuff, leggings and things of that nature. It sounds like she was badly decomposed and most likely pieces came apart because of how badly she was decomposed. I mean, Los Angeles, early September, late August, that's hot. It's hot out there. And inside a trunk with a plastic bag, bodies will bloat, and then pretty disgusting things happen. The ME did not confirm she was dismembered. Yeah. All righty, guys. They would have to be able to prove there was a sexual relationship. He could claim they were just friends. So I don't buy the cover up for the relationship reasons. They're going to end up getting I'm assuming they're going to get a warrant for her phone and her communications and things of that nature that they can pull off of the cloud and stuff. They're not going to be able to pull everything out, but if there's if her phone, had something saved to the cloud, they're going to be able to pull that up. I wonder if there's going to be any texts or conversations or stuff like that are going to point to a sexual relationship. You may not have anything concrete, right? DNA evidence, stuff like that. But it shouldn't be hard to build a circumstantial case that should be pretty strong. Evil's God comes says, thank you for covering this case. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm glad I'm covering this one as well. I'm actually also going to be covering the sheriff that shot the judge out there in Kentucky here hopefully in the next couple of days. So stay tuned for that. I'm still covering the Jack and Lily disappearance and Timothy D's case. I have to come up with the data to work on that case. That one is crazy. It's crazy. You guys need to go watch the Timothy D stuff that I have out. I have some more stuff there. I just work and scheduling with all this stuff is coming out. It's been a little bit difficult, but I need to get back into it. Thank you, Paradox. Wait, am I reading that? I'm going to put you on my bigger screen, guys. You guys are too small for me over here. Pandora 7X. There we go. Thank you. Welcome. And I think I saw that you had put in something in the chat. All right, Pandora comes in saying, maybe while he was touring, something went wrong. They panicked and dumped the car and Celeste in the trunk. I mean, that's quite possible. There's a lot of possibilities here. I'm going to go ahead and lean with that. They're probably suspecting David more than anybody else, so. Her remains after significant decomp weighed 71 pounds. No one is suggesting she weighed that alive. That's true. Gosh, that's true. That's horrible. How was she in bag? I think she was in one bag. I'm not sure, though. Oh, of course, Miss Hall. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, I plan on doing a Timothy D's case this week. So they haven't made an arrest. Not yet. In fact, it looks probably more concerning than not after reading what I just read about them saying that the culpability might be hiding a corpse. That's unfortunate, but we'll see what happens. I'm going to keep covering it. Guys, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, ring that notification bell. I'm going to be back maybe tomorrow, but most likely on Tuesday. If you want to catch me Mondays, I'm on a channel called Steel Curtain Network. I talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I am a huge Steelers fan, and so I come out on a show called The Steelers Hangover on Steel Curtain Network that airs out at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. On that channel, you'll see me live there tomorrow night, and then I'll be back Tuesday for sure. I got a lot of things that I want to cover, and I got a lot of things I need to say about a couple of different cases and things of that nature. But hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share the content. I truly appreciate it. Consider joining. I appreciate that as well. You guys have a great night. Have a safe weekend. It's been an awesome one for me. I'll see you guys tomorrow or Tuesday. That being said, I'm out of here, guys. Have a good night. Peace.